In our recreation center, let's get started on our first parking lot. I'm going to go for what I think is the easier one because it's square and not angled. So let's go for this parking lot. Now, we see that there's a distance here, 477 feet 3 inches from the property line to the start of the driveway. Well, that is true, it is. And that's already in our drawing, and we can't mess with that. The locations of entries off of roadways are governed by the county or the state or whoever is responsible for this roadway. So we're not allowed to move that driveway. So good thing it's where we want it to be, and it's the right width. So that's our starting point for our parking lot. This says on sheet L2 we're going to find a detail for this parking lot, so let's go look at that. And I've zoomed in on sheet L2. Here's our parking lot. So there's our driveway that we already have. And we find some distances that we can begin offsetting. 43 feet up, 108 feet up, 126 feet up. So let's start there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to draw the square stuff first, and we will wait until the very end to put in these radii to round the corners. So first we'll go, oh, and by the way, the layer. We were on site sport fields for our track and baseball diamond, but now we're on civil parking. That's our layer for our parking lot. All right, so we will go offset 43 feet mark up for the start of our parking lot, and I'm going to have to offset the line on the left of the driveway and the line on the right of the driveway because they're separate lines. Okay, then let's go 108 feet up and 126 feet up. Offset, I'm typing O for offset, 108 foot mark, offset on each side, and offset 126 foot mark. There and there. Okay, now what about the side-to-side stuff? Well, it looks like this right-hand row of parking stalls is lined up with this driveway. And in fact, if you do the math here, you find out that it is. So, and this bump is lined up with the driveway. 135 feet minus 99 feet gives you 36 feet, 18 feet on each side. So, all right, this bump for the turnaround and these parking stalls all line up with this driveway. So that's good. We have standard parking lot stall sizes, 9 feet by 18 feet. Unfortunately, the aisle is a little bit narrow. It's 24 feet. 26 would be better, but we're trying to fit inside of a building. So let's line up our driveway with our parking stalls. So I'm going to just get a line and come all the way up here. Oops, I left my ortho on. Okay. So that's the inner side of my stall. Now I'll offset 18 feet to get to the outside of my parking lot. Offset 18 foot mark to get to there. Oops, wrong. To get to there. Didn't want that one. Then I'll go 135. Offset 135 feet. That gets me to the other side, and I'll offset 18 feet in from that side to get over here. Okay, so there's a kind of a box. I think well, maybe I won't. Now, how are we going to start laying in these spaces? Most of them are standard parking stalls, so 9 feet, 9 feet, 9 feet. But look up here at the top of the parking lot, or the north side of the parking lot. 11 feet, 5, 11 feet, what are those? Those are accessible stalls. And then after those two, we start the 9-foot stalls. So I think it might be easier to start up here, make our accessible spaces, and then just quickly do 9-foot spaces from there down. I would like to trim. I'm going to make those my cutting edges. I'm going to make those my cutting edges. Okay, trim. This is going to make it a little cleaner so we can see what we're working with here. Oops. Okay, never mind. All right, so here at the top appears to be this corner of my parking lot. And I'm going to extend. I typed EX, but you could go up here. Extend is hidden under the trim button. I'm going to extend these lines so that they go all the way across, so I know what I'm dealing with. And then I might trim out that thing. Can I do that one? Okay, so there's my bump, my parking lot. Now I'm going to go down 11 feet, then 5 feet, then 11 feet. Offset 11 feet. Offset 5 feet. Enter. Now I just did an offset command, so I'm going to hit just the enter key. It's going to bring up the last command I did, which was the offset command. Now I'll do 11 feet again. Okay, so there are my parking stalls for the accessible spaces. Now I can just go 999 all the way down. 9 feet, and I can just start doing the 9 feet thing. So I have started my parking lot thing over here out in space just to save a little time. There's where I have done all that offsetting stuff. Now, what about this jazz in the middle? That's a little tricky to know what height is this. So these islands are 12 feet wide, but how far up and down do we go? Well, what we notice is that this is one of those kind of parking lots where the stalls are aligned. They're at the same level all the way across. So there's our clue. I'm going to get one of these parking lines and line it up over here. So I will go one parking line. I'm going to line it up over here. Okay. It's going to be a 9-foot parking stall here. Offset 9 feet. And it's going to be a 12-foot wide thing up here. Okay, offset 12 feet up here. how did I know how wide to make these, by the way? Well, what they tell us is that this aisle is 24 feet wide. These stalls are 18 feet wide. There's an island that's 15, then more stalls that are 18 feet. So that's how I came to draw these lines in the middle here. Now I could just go happily, crazily offset, 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 but then I'm going to have to trim, trim, trim. So I'm going to do my trim, trim, trimming now. Let me move this over where we can see it possibly. So I am going to trim, TR for trim, or I could grab my scissors up here, and I'm going to trim, oops, I wasn't reading the directions, trim, select objects for the cutting edges. I'm going to hit enter to select all, trim, trim, trim. And for this island thing, I'm going to extend, EX or extend. Where's your boundary edges? I'll just hit enter to select all. And I will extend, oh wait, I didn't want to do that. I will extend that island thing. Oh yes, I did want to do that. Island, island. There's my island. I'll trim. Okay, there's my island. Now I can start offsetting these spaces in here. Those are 9 feet apart. Offset, 9 foot mark. How many of those are there? Oh, I should count. I didn't count. 1, 2, 3, 4. I might have miscounted. It looks like it's right. And then I have an island. Did I miscount? I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, this is part of the island right here. So I'm just going to copy my island thing here down to here. There we go. Okay, and maybe I'll trim, trim. So now we're getting somewhere. Now I could begin to copy some of these parking stalls over here, get some construction lines out of the way. At some point, I'm going to be ready to put corners on these things. So we have down at the driveway, when you're all done with your parking lot, and we're not done yet, so I'm kind of jumping the gun here, but I'm jumping the gun. I wanted to show you how to fillet this. Okay, well, let's look at the top of the parking lot. This looks like it's another one of these 5-foot radius things, and there are more 5-foot radius things down here. I want to get this out of here. Okay, so let's get our fillet command. Which one is that? There it is right there. It's a picture of a fillet. You might have a chamfer sitting on top, but there's a fillet. Okay, fillet, select first object. Okay, if I go click, click, first object, second object. Oh, sorry. I didn't want it to do that because I wanted to make a point. I'd already put a 5-foot radius in there. I forgot I did that. All right, well, didn't make my point. Fillet. My point is, when you first start out, you need to type R, enter, for radius, and then you need to tell it 5 feet for the radius. Now you can happily click lines, and it will enter enter.